Are you still a Browns fan after what happened last night?
Well, it was a little tough last night. It was like Christmas morning when you're waking up and you've asked Santa for that one gift and you're just sure it's coming. And then all of a sudden you open it up and it's like, hey, this is a gift certificate for next year's Christmas. Like, dang.
What would you have done?
I mean, it would be hard for me to pass up on Travis Hunter. Just because he's a guy that can change the game on both sides of the ball. You can never have enough good cornerbacks. You can never have enough good wide receivers. And it would have been nice to see him because I think he's just a great locker room guy. And it was a tough year for Browns fans, let's be honest. And so to get a little bit of excitement and hope on draft day, which is typically our Super Bowl, would have been kind of nice. But I think when you look at the haul that they got, how do you turn that down? I mean, it was a historic haul for being able to just slide back a couple spots and then still get a great player in Mason Graham.
Okay, but this is what I never understand. People talk about, oh, you got all these draft picks. But if you're not good at drafting, what does it matter? Because the Browns have a recent history of not being very good at drafting.
What do you consider recent? Like the last 20 years?
Yeah, last 15 years. I mean, You worked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've had some good picks, obviously.
I mean, Myles Garrett.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The reason we're in this situation is because
like Johnny Manziel,
quarterback.
The defensive back from Oklahoma State.
Let's not talk about Justin Gilbert.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to mention that name.
Yeah, but I just thought if you take Travis Hunter, now you're relevant. Now now we would tune in to watch the Browns.
Yeah.
Nobody's tuning in to watch Myles Garrett. I mean, you appreciate Myles Garrett, but you want to be relevant, and the Browns aren't relevant. Now the curiosity is, how old is their quarterback? I mean, that's really the big curiosity here. You get Travis Hunter, and then today you get Shedeur Sanders. Now I got something. I got something fun here. Maybe it's not sustainable with the quarterback, but at least you reunite them. Now people are talking about the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I guess, do you want to win the draft or do you want to win some games down the line? And I think it's a difficult decision, and it's a tough trade-off when you're sitting here and everybody wants that microwave approach, that instant gratification of being able to have those two guys like you mentioned, and you got the excitement. But, there was a lot of excitement when we drafted Johnny Manziel. And, we've had a lot of excitement on draft day in the past, and it's not always worked out. So sometimes I think you do have to make the tough decisions and be realistic about the situation you're in and admit to yourself that, hey, we aren't one player away, and we don't have enough conviction in Shedeur Sanders, hoping that they'd be able to get him today to say, like, yep, we put those two guys together. We got a strong playoff team. We think that Shedeur is a guy that can maybe give us a run in the playoffs, and I just don't think that evaluation led them to that belief.
Did you ever pull Johnny Manziel to the side and have a conversation with him?
We talked occasionally, and I was like, hey, man, why don't you love football more? Like, it would be really cool if you showed up for a few meetings every now and then.
And what did he say?
I don't think he was there. I think I was sending him a text message like, hey, we're at the meeting. Where are you?
You don't think he loved football?
I think it was pretty obvious that he enjoyed playing football as a kid's game, but when it came to doing the work, the preparation that it takes, it's really hard, especially being a quarterback in the NFL, because you're putting a lot of time in on your own, getting yourself ready, not only for games, but practicing, watching film, and dedicating your body to the weight room. And look at what Tom Brady did. I mean, basically all he did when he was a player was take care of his body, study film, and play football. And that's the commitment you have to make, and not everybody's willing to make that.
Well, you see a lot of quarterbacks, not a lot, but you see some that they've been so good, it's so easy for them in high school and like Kyler Murray. I just think football was easy for him. And then you get to the pros where you really have to put in the time now. Johnny in high school, Johnny in college. And then all of a sudden you get to the pros and you just see some of these guys who it was too easy for them. The hard part is when you feel like you've made it when you get to the NFL. But that's when it starts.
Yeah.
Like you didn't make it when you were drafted by the Browns. You had to then prove, that you were worthy of that draft pick.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that when I was drafted in 2007, I wasn't super excited to go to the draft, because it kind of made me upset that a lot of players thought that this was the end of the road. This was my king moment, and now all the work is done, and I can just enjoy the work that I did before and the money that comes and the fame that comes. But for me, it was just like, hey, this is where I'm going to be starting my journey, and this is where the work begins. And I think no matter who you are, no matter how great you are in college and how great you become in the NFL, you do hit those oil slicks on your path to success, and you got to be willing to put in a different level of work and commitment to your craft than you did to be great and win the Heisman in college.
Didn't I talk to you the day of the draft or after the draft? You were hunting, weren't you?
I was fishing out on Lake Michigan, out of Port Washington, Wisconsin, with the dad. Yeah, it was great. Hey, maybe there's some people from Port Washington, not too far from here.
But why go fishing instead of go to the draft?
Well, Gil Brandt asked me to go to the draft, the Hall of Fame scout from the Dallas Cowboys. And, I'm a man of my word. I'm a guy that keeps his commitments, or I try to. I did ghost you one time on the show back in 2009. I'm sorry about that one still, by the way. But I had a date to fish with my dad going back a long time on Saturday, and the NFL was just a little bit late to ask me to show up to the draft. Okay. I said, hey, sorry, I'm already planning to go fishing with my dad, and that sounds a lot more fun than putting on the suit and going to New York City.
What advice would you give these offensive linemen who were drafted?
I would say just come in with your head down, be ready to work, your eyes open, your mouth shut, listen and learn from those old guys, and try to build yourself a process to prepare for games, because that was one of the things that was the most important in my career. I had Hank Fraley, who is our center, now turning into a great NFL coach. He was the offensive line coach for the Detroit Lions, but I was able to get in there and some other veteran guys, and they showed me their process of how you watch film, how you take notes, how you prepare for practice, how you evaluate yourself, because the coaches are going to do a great job. But if you want to be great, if you want to be consistently great, you got to do it for yourself, and you got to have a system that you stick to, that you go through every single day for practice, and then every week when you're getting ready for Sundays.
Well, the Patriots were on the clock, and then they take the offensive lineman, Will Campbell, out of LSU. And, it's not a sexy pick. But then you hear what he says, that he'll die. I'm going to protect my quarterback. Yeah. That's when you go, yes.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel got his guy.
Yeah.
But then they talk about short arms. Mm-hmm. I mean, how long are your arms?
I don't know. Maybe somebody can look it up, but that was the knock on me coming out
short
of
arms.
the NFL draft, which I always thought was funny. I'm like, what makes my arms short? I guess I don't understand, if my middle finger is an inch longer, because they measure from here to here, which is kind of a weird measurement. I don't block people like this. Last time I checked, usually I'm going like this, and I'm blocking with my feet, and my hands are just connecting me and my body to the opponent. And so, obviously longer is better than shorter with your appendages, but it really is not gonna, well, here we go. We got apparently an aficionado. He knows the thing. But I don't know why they think that a very, very minute difference is able to classify somebody as, yep, you can do it, and nope, sorry, you can't do it. Because really, it's your feet, it's your technique, it's your balance, it's your mind and your ability to get into those biomechanical positions. It's the way you can bend your ankles, knees, and hips. That's what determines success or failure. But I think sometimes, especially with the combine, we're very attached to these measuring systems that are very, very archaic. They're not very accurate at measuring exactly how long are your arms, because I always thought, hey, wouldn't it be good as if you put a plate of glass between the guy's chest and you had them stick their arms out like this with their palms, because that's what you block people with. You don't block people like this. But the problem, and you certainly don't block them like this. Even wingspan is kind of misleading, because now you're measuring how long are their hands and their fingers, how wide is their chest, which really, it's obsolete. It doesn't matter. But they always want a way to be able to compare the people that were there 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, because they build these models of, all right, this is the probability of success if they have this measurement and that measurement. So they don't want to change it, even though a lot of that stuff really, it's just not applicable at all, even to the thing that they're trying to measure.
He's Hall of Famer Joe Thomas. How many sacks did you give up in your career?
I don't think I gave up any, actually. The ones that they maybe credited for me were probably the quarterback's fault.
How many do you think you actually got?
I think it was probably around 20 or something like that, 26.
How many times did you hold?
Well, I never held.
No,
that's for sure.
How many times did you get called?
Penalties. I don't know. Maybe 30, 20, 10, 5. I don't know.
Joe is raising beef cattle.
Yeah.
And selling your Hall of Fame beef products.
Yeah. You guys do such a great show, and you're out here grinding away, and you don't get food. But there's nothing better than a beef stick for a snack. So
He's got a knife. Security. He's got a knife.
I figure you guys, may get a little hungry today. And so I had a chance to offer you some of the great Hall of Fame beef from my family farm in Wisconsin.
It's sixspringsfarm.com for more information.
There you go. Be wary that this is exceptional stuff, and you might not go back to the regular stuff. If you're going back home, this is the stuff that my kids are literally fighting over when they come home from school. So I hope you enjoy it.
What a treat.
Stop farm to table.
Wow.
It's kind of a passion project. See, hey, that was a good answer, by the way. But,
all right.
And I'll put the knife away before I get in trouble
Yeah.
with the police.
What are you doing?
We're doing good things over here in Wisconsin, aren't we, guys? Hey, there we go. We still got a crowd here.
You wish you would have played for the Packers?
I grew up a huge Packer fan. I was 12 when they won the Super Bowl with Brett Favre and Leroy Butler and Reggie White. And so I carried that through college. And then you get drafted. And until you really are just all in for another team playing for the Browns, obviously Browns fan, I wanted us to win. But you still kind of hold that love for your team that you grew up in because you remember all those feels that you had, when they had those successes. And so early on in my career, I was always kind of saying, I wasn't hoping they would trade for me, but I wasn't going to be mad if they did because living in Wisconsin, obviously the weather is so nice as it is today, 40 and raining. I got my family here, get to play in Lambeau Field, which is the greatest stadium. It's the cathedral to football. But then as my career wore on, my kids were born in Cleveland. I really identified more as a Clevelander, as a Cleveland Brown. And so now living back in Wisconsin, kids are allowed to be Packer fans. I cheer for them if they're not playing the Browns. But, I think it's interesting as you work in the business how kind of your allegiances just change a little bit.
But you didn't think about maybe your final year. Like J.J. Watt, I think, talked about maybe 1 year playing for the.
Yeah, but he didn't. So it's like, I get.
But
the
he
idea.
wanted to.
Yeah, but he wanted to. I mean, I wanted to, but I think when you kind of weigh the cost and the benefit of everything, in the end, you still want to be in like a great situation for you and how you fit into the team, and that's kind of like the most important thing. I think for me, my career ended probably before I wanted to because I had a bad knee and I tore my tricep. I was just kind of breaking down, but. The little kid in me says, yeah, it wouldn't have been cool to put the green and gold helmet on, but I never also wanted to be the guy that's like, oh, he used to be good, but we're just kind of taping him together and rolling him out there to be nice to him, right?
Did you ever score a touchdown?
I never did. I picked up a couple fumbles, and that's about it.
Never got close?
No, never in the end zone. Well, I guess maybe close in my mind. It was Thursday Night Football in Cincinnati, and we fumbled into the end zone, and I jumped on the pile, and I was like, this is my chance. This is it. But I had a record going towards the end of my career of consecutive snaps over 10 and a half years. I never missed a play. And so if you go in as an eligible receiver, like on the goal line to try to throw you a pass, and let's say there's a penalty or something like that, now you back up and it's third down and long, and you want to be able to put that player back in as a tackle and take him away from being an eligible number. You can't do that without taking a timeout. So they never even put like a play in to placate me and make me think that I was going to be able to score a touchdown. But I also had my hands taped like a boxer. I had casts on my thumbs, and my fingers looked like Ninja Turtles. So I actually didn't even want to try to catch a ball because it would be real bad like this.
He is Joe Thomas, and it's sixspringsfarm.com.
That's right.
And so this is direct to consumer.
Yeah, we sell on the website. It's me and my family. My kids in 2018 said, hey, Dad, we want a pet cow. And I'm like, oh, boy, this is going to take some work. And then I started thinking like, oh, but I can eat this pet. I can't do that with the other ones. And so I'm like, you know what I learned as a pro athlete, as how you take care of your body and how the fuel that you put in it gives you the fuel that you put out, and how your body is determined and how you feel. And I was like, well, I love eating beef, so I want to see if I can raise the best beef on planet Earth, regardless of price. NFL salary was good, so I don't have to worry about pinching pennies on raising the beef cattle. And we just kind of stumbled into something, and it all started with getting 5 cows for the kids.